guys, it's Shell with Creative Shell Bear Little Acres Creations, and today we are going to do an embossed resist card using the butterflies, the caterpillar, and the saying, beautiful things come from change. So this is going to be watercolor heat embossed card. So let's get started on that. What I'm doing first is I'm taking my Versamark. And I'm using my Zing embossing white powder. And I'm taking the larger butterfly in the set, Fluttering By, which is available at my store, littleacrescreations.com. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of aiming for, I just kind of want like a kind of busy background. There's a little bit of color on that, and I washed it I don't know how many times, but that's okay, because when we emboss the white over it, you won't see it. And then we're going to come back after we emboss and do watercolor. Okay, so now I'm just going to change to my smaller butterfly in the same set, and I'm also going to use the Versamark, and it's just going kind of just randomly wherever I want it. I'm okay if it goes off the edge. Let's see, let's put one kind of right here. Okay. Sometimes those colors are kind of hard to get the color off the stamp. Is kind of hard to get off. Okay, so I kind of got that. Let me zoom out a little bit. Hopefully you got all that. Okay. So now I'm just going to use my white Zing embossing powder. And when we watercolor this card, this is going to protect the butterflies. And the watercolor will come right off. We'll kind of go inside of the butterflies and around them, but not on them. And so that's why you have a resist. The embossing powder acts as a resist. I meant to use my cornstarch, but I forgot. I can see it just a little bit there. And I kind of am leaving like a empty spot here, and we're going to cover that up. So I don't really need to put a butterfly there. If you wanted to, though, you could go right ahead and do that. Okay, so now I'm going to use my heat tool and heat that up. Embossed. Now I'm just going to let it sit here just for a little bit and just kind of cool down so it's not still sticky. If you touch it too soon, it's still melted and you may smear it or get it on your fingers. Okay, so let me show you what I'm using. I'm using some shimmering H2Os. This one is Olive Vine. The blue one that I'm using is Rich Cobalt. Then I'm using like a little maroon, which is Poppy Red. Okay, it doesn't need a lot of time to cool. Okay, now I'm going to take just some blue masking tape, and I'm going to take off some of the sticky. So go ahead and just stick it on your arm or your t-shirt or whatever you have. If you take off a bit of the sticky, then it won't rip the paper when you pull it off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have just a big brush, and I picked up this brush at G's Embellishment Emporium, and just some water to the side. And what I'm going to do is I want to put water all over my surface first. My water's a little bit dirty, but that's okay. Okay, just to kind of, that way when I put the colors on, they're not so concentrated. So, okay, now I'm going to wet my brush, stick it into the shimmering H2Os that I've had some water little containers. You need them to sit for about at least 5 minutes, 10 for a deeper color. So I'm just going to go in each of the colors, kind of just place them sporadically around the butterflies. I'm getting a little bit too much water, so just take your paper towel if you get too much and just kind of pick up some of the main color, you know, just the water puddles kind of, and you can always add more. Okay, so I'm just going to put some of the red, but see how it resists the butterflies? I just think that is so beautiful. I really love these watercolors. Okay, when you're choosing watercolors though, you want to make sure and choose something that's going, you know, to go together and not make mud, or just be careful where you know, put them. Okay, let me get a little bit more purple down here, or blue, I guess that's cobalt blue. A little bit more up here. You can also pick up a little bit of the color by just drying your brush before you bring it over, and that really helps too. I'm going to add just a little bit deeper red right in this area, just to kind of blend it in. Take off just a little bit off the embossing piece. Isn't that pretty? Okay, and I'm liking how that looks. So now I'm going to come in with my heat tool and just kind of heat it. I don't want to re-emboss what I've already done. I'm just going to kind of go in between the embossing, just kind of dry it, because if you re-emboss it, then it's going to melt into the paper, and I really don't want that. Okay, and that's pretty dry. Now the way you can tell if it's dry is if it's warm to the touch. If it feels kind of cool, then you want to go ahead and continue drying that. So I'm going to take off my tape. And this paper is a little bit, this is a Ranger watercolor paper. It's just a little bit bigger than my card, so I will be cutting off the white edges. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, make sure it's thoroughly dry. In the meantime, I have another piece cut. This one is 2.5 by 2. I'm going to make this into a little tag for on top of our card. So I'm going to do my corner, match it up, and that's not right. Match it up, and then we're going to flip the corner and match it up on the other side, and that will give you a really nice looking tag. Okay, so we're going to emboss our little caterpillar, and we're going to use the same technique that we used a while ago. And the saying, beautiful things come from change. I just love this saying. I think it's perfect for, you know, maybe a baby shower, for a wedding, for graduation, for divorce. Okay. So I have those lined up. I'm just going to go ahead back into my Versamark and just line those up. double-sided tape just to hold it down while I'm watercoloring so it doesn't move too much. It won't really help with I don't think it'll help with the warping, but I'll show you a way to kind of combat that. And that's not too bad. It is a little bit warped, but it's not horrible. And when we use our double stick tape to tape that down, it'll straighten right out for us. Okay, so my background color for my card is going to be this blue. And I cut that a little bit too short. Let's see, I thought I had one cut. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put extra tape on here. And you want to tape this pretty well because it is watercolor, so it is pretty warped. And even though this is watercolor paper, that does happen. There are ways to fix that. Okay, so I'm going to put this on my card. I cut this at 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. It's a little bit big, but we're just going to trim that down. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab my hole punch and punch a hole in it. And then to finish off the tag, I have some seam binding. It's not quite the perfect color, so let me show you what I'm going to do. It's too light for the color I want, so I'm just going to spray some of my water on there just to kind of wet it. And then I'm going back with my paintbrush into the cobalt, I think is what it was called. And we're just going to add some of that color to this, and it will help make it the right color. You know, that's a great tip. If you don't have the color that you want, make your own color. So I'm just going to wipe up some of this, and that will help it dry quicker. And I'm going to use my heat tool. I think it just goes so well with the card now compared to before. So I'm going to take my seam binding and I'm just going to thread it through our little card. And you guys know how much I like to add dimension to my card, to my cards, or to any of my projects. If I can get it in there. And what I did is I just folded it in half and then just went in the front. Okay, I really like that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fold and cut up, and what that does is it gives me a little dove's tail. I really love the dove's tail for ribbons and such. I just think they're really pretty. To me, it gives it like a finished look. If you don't want the dove's tail, you can add just a slant or something on it. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now let's just put our card together. Okay, so I'm using this is just a A2 size card. I just cut down a sheet of 8.5 by 11 and cut it down the center at 5.5, and that gives you 2 card bases. And to go on top of this, I have a beautiful blue, that is going to kind of match our watercolor. And then I'm going to go cut this down. The blue is cut at 5 1/4 by 4, and this will be cut at 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, and see, that'll go just perfectly right there. I'm just using my double stick tape today. Okay, and so I have my little tag, and I just thought that would be really cute just right here. So I'm going to use some pop-up dots. I'm just going to pop this right here, just kind of line it up to the side, and then just to finish it off, I have these kind of pearl trails, and I thought how beautiful those would be on this card. So I'm just going to kind of cut some down. Just kind of on the little tag. So I'm going to let's put these up here. Kind of straighten them up there. And that is the card for today. What do you guys think? I think it turned out so beautiful. I really like this. I hope you give this a try. Come join us on Facebook at Little Acres Creations. And if you give this a try, I'd love to see what you're doing. So thank you guys so much for watching, and you guys have a great day.